Okay, I'm back. This is a continuation of the previous video. It's part two. Um, the last thing I was talking about was the pros. So aside from having the ability to isolate, focus on most of the things I want to do with a straight arrow, consistent, powerful direction towards what I want to do, because I have no distractions. Another pro is it's easy for me to find out who is for me and who is not. Right? If you have a lot of friends and you function in a lot of these spaces like a lot of people do when they go outside all the time and they have all these friends and meet all these people. When some of those friends become enemies and you can't trust people and blah blah blah, now you have to sift through and do detective work on all these niggas or women or bitches, whatever, to figure out who's really for you and who's not. I don't have to do that. I don't have to do that. When I make friends, they're usually small little pockets of friends and they are genuine and they know me for me. If they're still around, that's because they accept me for who I am, as as I am. And so when something is happening and I need to identify from where it originates, that's easy for me to do, and I don't have to deal with so many backstabbers and potential problems coming from within my own friend groups and whatever small communities that I manage to build. And these are usually just like work friends. Yeah, work friends. Uh, oh, actually, there's another con. There's another con. At least I think this might be more personal to me. But I'm a very analytical and uh, like data focused person. So when I'm thinking about the world and how I fit into it, I'm not just looking from my own personal view. Like, this is just what I experienced. That's not enough. That's not wise to me because there's a lot that goes on that has nothing to do with my direct control or my life at all. But when it happens out there, it can still come in here and affect me. So I don't like to think like that. Some people do that and they think that's the wiser way to go about living their life. Uh, don't pay too much attention to things outside of you, people outside of you. Just do your own thing, live your own life. Yes and no. Yes, because the world is very large. And even if you take into perspective a whole bunch of stuff that's going on, and it all might be true, you're not going to experience all of that in person, really. If you go outside and you do stuff, the likelihood of all that stuff coming to you and you experiencing all of those things that are based around those statistics is not that big. It's not as big as you think, especially if you pick your destination, where you're going, and who you're being involved with wisely. Right. So since you're already armed with the knowledge of statistics, but anyway, actually, I'm kind of going off. The con to finish it up is that that's happened to me, right? Where I don't know what that is, but there's a word for it where you don't want to go outside. I don't see no point in going outside. When I look outside and I see my community and I see there's places where I can find some people like me that look like me, whatever. I don't want to go over there. And when I go, I don't care about. Oh, that's another thing. I don't care about materialism. That's probably a pro. I'm not materialistic. That's a pro. No, that's definitely a pro. I'm not materialistic when people live lives are based around material like shoes and chains and all that. I don't give a fuck about none of that shit, bro. I really, really don't. It's all nice. It can all be great and nice. I know what nice things look like. Okay, but I'm not finna have my decisions influenced by materialistic things heavily. Unless it makes sense. Like, I'm about to do some property buying or some, like buying a car or some shit. Yeah, I gotta consider materialistic things. But if it's not a specific situation where it's not intense and it makes sense to be materialistic or really focus on the material aspects of life right then and there, I'm not materialistic. I don't care who has what brand it is, who said What about this brand? I don't care. I don't care. So like in my closet, I have like 10 pairs of shoes. 10 pairs of shoes. 3 or 4 of them are Jordans, and that was just because they look nice. Somebody might just look at my Jordans and be like, "Ugh, are those Jordan 21s? Them motherfuckers ugly." I don't care, bro. It look nice to me. And then when I have my outfit, whatever outfit, I know how to put clothes together to some degree. I'm not. I have a little fashion knowledge, mostly because of my grandma. But I just put what looks nice. The colors complement the shapes, the whatever, it all complements each other. The graphics. I put it together, and I thought those shoes were nice, so I bought them. I didn't buy them because they were Jordans. I didn't say, "Ooh, Jordans. I need these specific Jordans because next week the other one's gonna drop, and I got to keep up with." No, I don't care. Uh, Another pro is I have had lots of time to discipline my body and mind. Right. So when you do go into those things out there in the world and you deal with all that anti culture stuff, you live a life of little to no discipline. There's no discipline in that. Right. You live for the moment. You live in constant pleasure chasing, uh, attention seeking, self validating, and validating of other people. You kind of just live constantly in that state. I don't do that. I don't have those urges. I don't have those impulses. And when I do have them, or if I have anything similar to them, I can easily correct them. And I've chosen to do that. And I've chosen to discipline my mind very well. So when I do come across things, even though they may be fun or they may appear fun or be presented to me as fun, or other people are doing them or whatever, if there's something influential about them, I would not be influenced. You're not influencing me to do shit. If especially if it's anti-culture stuff, you're not influencing me. That shit is stupid. It's a waste of money. It's a waste of time and energy. No, and I stick to this. I make it easier for myself to stick to this because I stay in the house. So when I go outside, I know specifically and exactly where I'm going, and if I encounter some weird shit on the way, no, and I keep moving, and that's it. Uh, it's a proverb, or not proverb. It's a quote somewhere. I forgot who said it, but if a man masters his gut, his penis, and I believe his mind, all three of those things, then he can basically he can do anything. No problems can take him down. He can face anything and work through it and come out on top, or come out the best way he can if he can control those three things: his penis, his gut, and his mind. So I focus on that. I fast. I do lots of intermittent fasting, and I've done actual fasts before. I've done 2 week fasts. I've done Daniel fasts. 2 week fast where you eat. I did a 2 week Daniel fast where you only eat fruits and vegetables and you only drink water, and there's no other food, and you're supposed to eat at healthy times of the day. So that's like 5 6 p.m. is the healthiest time to eat because your body has time to break it all down before you go to sleep. If you're breaking it down while you sleep, that's not like bad. It's not super bad, but it's less optimal for the body, right? So 5 6 o'clock, eat fruits, vegetables, drink water, go to sleep. 2 weeks. I've done that. I've also done a week with no food, just no food, and I do regularly intermittent fasting. So I don't eat anything. So this is every day for me. I don't eat anything until after 12 a.m. No breakfast. Uh, this also helps me to control my mind. Like I was saying earlier, my mind is, I think about a lot of things because I know I'm in a unique position. It's easier for me to avoid falling into biases around my people or black people. Now, there's a lot of biases that we can operate underneath or inside of when we start having bigger discussions and thinking about things outside of our immediate control, like politics and stuff of that nature, and similar things to that. And people operate with bias. I don't do that. I don't do that. I see what it is from the beginning, and I look at it objectively, and I look at it unbiasedly, and then I see, okay, well, the black people or the black community was doing this. They said this. They moved like this. This other community reacted this way. For example, I've been in programs where we had to work with the police, or I was in a program called Brotherhood Crusade, and we had to work closely with the police for a time to discover some kind of alternative methods to bridge the gap of trust and camaraderie between black people and the police, because our history is mired in blood and horrible events. And the police department was founded by evil racist people. And that evil racism is not completely expunged from the police department. So it's always kind of an element in there. But when we got to discussing about all of these different things, why we think different ways and why we feel different ways about each other, it was a circle. We did something called a healing circle, and it was I forgot the group size, but it was a good amount of us, about a classroom's worth, so somewhere in the 20 to 30 range of people, and we all sat in a circle, and we discussed prejudices that we had, emotions that we had, reasons that we had for those emotions, and you discover that everyone is the same. Basically, like, this is not super brand new information. People, anybody can really figure this out if you just sit down and open your heart and talk to other people. But we when we went through that process, it was very alleviating for us, and very, it helped us understand a lot more about why things happen and why we feel certain ways about things. Uh, Most of the cops were just telling us, it's like, the same things that we were saying, basically they were saying back to us. There were some younger men in the group who were like, my brother was killed by a policeman. So, when I see a policeman, I'm not happy about that. I don't want to talk to those niggas. I don't want to do none of that shit. They killed my brother. And the policeman was like, I understand that. And I'm sorry that that happened to your brother. And I'm sorry a police officer did that. And then they go through what the brother, who the brother was and what he was like. And then he will say some stuff like, well, I'm not trying to hurt your brother. The goal wasn't to go outside and kill your brother today. The goal was to go outside and do my job as a police officer. And your brother probably threatened my life. Not his life, actually, but the theoretical officer, whoever killed his brother, threatened his life or made him feel in danger. People are dangerous. Okay, people don't understand. People underestimate how dangerous random people can be to each other. And the police officers are armed with guns, and they're trained to respond to threats in a specific way. So if the brother was doing a certain thing, the officer doesn't want to get killed. Just because he's wearing a uniform or he has a gun with him doesn't mean he's more comfortable with dying and not getting to go home that day because some YNs want to do some shit. That's not what that means. So he shot first. Was it the right thing to do? No. We're not gonna. There's never a right time to kill somebody. We're not gonna. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying this nuance in these discussions are only discovered by people who operate outside of the biases of black communities and the biases that black communities can have and cultivate inside of them. Because most of the people in the black community, if they see a police officer or somebody tried to invite them to a healing circle like this, I'm not talking to fucking police. What the fuck? Nigga. Like, they're going to have a reaction like that. If not, way more outlandish. But still, the answer is no. Fuck no. That's because they have a bias. Because they're black. They've adopted black bias from black communities, from experiences that they've had as a black person in their black communities. And because of those biases, a whole bunch of different opportunities and discussions they will never accept. I don't have that problem because I don't identify with those things and I don't live lifestyles that make me adopt those biases or that would influence me to adopt those biases and make them attractive to me. I don't do that because of that, which is why I was one of the optimal candidates during these meetings when we were having these discussions. I was recognized as articulate and one of the more capable people in the group to discuss stuff. Another pro is I have more freedom when it comes to personal, personal representation, personal how I display myself and how I present myself to the world and to groups of people. That's up to me. So that's a strength. That's a pro because I don't have to go into a space and have my pants sagging or do anything of those natures or speak with ebonics. I don't have to do any of these things. I can do what I want to do. And sometimes it's good because it can surprise people and open up opportunities for me because I'm unique and it shows a level of discipline and resilience and self-control when you do something like that. Like, just to make it more extreme, let's just say somebody came from a whole family of drug dealers. Everybody in their family has dealt drugs in a community and been successful at it. They finally become adults and they don't do that. They go and they open they create a new fucking fashion brand, new clothes with a new brand on them, and they look fucking good and they feel good, and it's awesome. That shows something significant about that person. That's when the black sheep of the flock, instead of it being identified or seen as black, evil, as bad, they say, "Oh, look, the black sheep of that flock. I like that. I like how that one stands out. All the other ones are just white. That one is black." It's a change in perspective. But that change in perspective won't happen if you are putting all your effort into trying to fit in with the other white sheep, even though you're the black sheep. It's like self-sabotage in a way, and it's not healthy for you. There are a lot of people, I've met some people like this, who are black sheep. They're not they're not ghetto people for real. They are camouflaging because they're afraid that if they decide to do what they want to do and live how they want to, really, actually, they won't have those same girlfriends that they have. They won't have those same communities to fall back on, even though they're not. Most of them are not real. They're not healthy communities. That's all that they do have. So they still have value to those, and they've been in them probably their whole life. So they still have value to them specifically, but they still have value in general because a community can do all kind of stuff. But to them, more personal, on a personal level, is very valuable. So they don't want to be ostracized from the community. Not everyone has the strength to handle some shit like that. Some people get ostracized from the community and break the fuck down immediately. They can't even fathom going a distance without some people in their corner, somebody to help, somebody to listen to their problems. They can't even fathom that. So that's another pro. I get control over how I represent myself, and I can decide to do with that whatever I want to do. Whether that's going to Brotherhood Crusade and being an articulate young man over there and doing things over there, or creating a fashion brand. I know a man like that. His name is Keel. He's a very brilliant young man. He's awesome. His clothing, his fashion ideas are awesome. Or whatever it is, whatever examples exist. That's only a possibility when you break away from the expected behaviors. Are you trying to fit into some archetypes or some stereotypes about your people because you're not brave enough to explore outside, or you don't want to be ostracized from your community, so you don't even attempt to go in the other direction. Another pro for me is my creativity is it feels like less capped. It feels like more is I have more abundance from a creative perspective. From a creative standpoint, I have more abundance. To explain that, so like when you're in a community or when you're in a group of people, everything about you is depending on how ingrained you are in the community. Everything about you is kind of directed and moved by the community. It's influenced heavily by the community. So you won't ever really explore certain things if the community is not over there, right? So that limits your creative potential. I don't have that. My creative potential is unlimited. If I want to create some weird, disturbing art that only a small amount of people would find cool and everybody else would just be intrigued but slightly disturbed, I can do that. It doesn't matter to me what people think, or it's not gonna be. I'm not gonna change my creative ideas or undo them or whatever, alter them because my community or because what people would think of me. I don't have that pressure because I'm not in that group. I'm not part of that community. Uh, yeah, so I think that's good to go for part two. I feel like I could probably ramble about this for a long time. I don't know why I'm so good at talking. I could talk forever, depending on the subject. I'm just talking. Uh, that's good for a part two because it's already 21 minutes. If you want the videos in longer form, let me know because and they're gonna be long. They're gonna be really long because I can ramble, man. I can ramble and ramble and ramble, and I do my best. I don't just ramble about the same shit over and over again. I'm talking about like I be tying shit together and I be creating these long trains of ramble, ramble trains. So, but I'm not trying to have it be super long because then people won't watch it or they won't make it to the end. And I want people to make it to the end because this is raw footage and I'm just trying to be my true and authentic self on the internet and receive that same truth and authenticity back from whoever decides to engage with this content. But they won't do that if they have short attention spans and the video is 30 minutes. So I'm cutting it down the best that I can right now. I'm gonna upload a part three, separate video. Thank you for listening. I'll see you in part three.